Hi, welcome to Healthy Alternatives, where we examine complementary and alternative medicine as well as other lifestyle choices that promote and enhance human health. And our guest tonight is a friend of Channel 14, Rick Garrey.
Hello.
I'm sure our viewers recognize Rick. And, you know, we usually have on healthcare professionals, but
That's not me.
no, it's not. And I don't even play a doctor on TV, but
I played one once.
but you know, I think like a lot of people who hopefully are watching our show, everyone is like, well, how do I, take care of myself? And, I don't necessarily want to take all these prescriptions. And I went to the doctor, and I don't really agree with what he says. And Rick, you have a unique story that you'd like to share, and actually I have several. So we're just going to kind of have an open story night tonight on Healthy Alternatives with Rick, who better, because Rick is the original story guy for Channel 14.
I've told a lot of stories.
I think told a lot of stories.
My perspective is, I think we all, growing up, we're, especially my generation and your generation, we were told, the doctor knows best. Drink your milk, eat your meat.
They are like the health gods.
Right. Eat your Wonder Bread of all things.
Yeah.
Okay.
The 4 food groups.
Right. Exactly. Cheese, Wonder Bread, meat, and milk. Right. And if you eat that, you'll have healthy bones. And throw a Twinkie in now and then just for good measure. But as we get older, and as we start to have children or things go on, and we start to maybe hopefully realize that, wait a minute, maybe there's other things we should be doing.
Well, and also I think because I'm several years older than you, Rick, but the American diet has just been in decline, I think, since the 70s.
Yes.
And a lot of the diseases that we're seeing today are the result of inflammation, which is a direct causal relationship to what we're eating, right? And not eating.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that kind of ties in with your...
But we don't eat local anymore.
Well, we don't even eat food.
Right, so what happens is food has to be
that's made.
Food has to be processed, so it can hold on the shelf longer, so it can be traveled further. And where before you went to your local market, your local meat butcher, everything.
Yeah, because it was almost, frozen. I remember growing up, it was like, this is frozen. Everybody's like, ooh. Now it's like frozen. Oh, who cares?
Now it's like if it's fresh, it's weird. Yeah.
It's like if it's not, it's in a box, dehydrated. Right, and then you add some water and nuke it, and then it's like, what are we, astronauts or something? So
Right.
It's really,
it's crazy.
It is.
It is. Well, my mother said something. Now, my mother's 85 years old, and she said, because I've been trying to eat, I've changed my diet, and my mother.
And tell us now, you've lost a lot of weight since you've changed your
accidentally.
diet. From just changing your diet.
I wasn't
so
trying
you
to
weren't
lose
trying
weight,
to lose weight.
But I lost 10 to 12 pounds in a few months.
That's significant.
But again, without trying.
Right.
Because of what I changed. But my mother said, we didn't eat all the healthy stuff you guys are eating, and we did fine. I said, but here's the difference. You didn't eat a lot of meat because you couldn't afford it. You ate a lot of beans because it was cheap. You ate a lot of vegetables, and she said, yes, we ate a lot of greens. I said, you didn't have processed foods.
No, there was no Kraft's, there was no McDonald's, there was no
But even processed foods, even if they ate pasta,
Rice-A-Roni.
they bought it themselves, the flour and the eggs themselves and made it.
And made it.
If they had soup, they made it. Whatever, and the meat producer was local, the farms were local. So that even though they didn't realize they were eating healthy, they were.
Right.
But anyway, so you want me to tell a story? Once upon a time.
Well, how did you before we were on the air, you were sharing with me how this kind of evolved in your life, and I have my own story.
Well,
so
I'd love to hear yours, sure.
Well, you go first.
Well, basically, we, like I told you, we all believe our doctors, right? And so as a young parent, when we first had our son, Josh, young parents, and you do exactly what the pediatrician tells you all the time. So my son, after a couple of months, became what they called colicky, which is crying all the time.
Yes,
but not just normal crying.
No, it's a wailing, crying.
It's an intense
It's
crying.
enough to make you understand why there's shaken baby syndrome. I mean, I'm not making a joke. I had a colicky child too, and it's
horrible.
It's really
it's horrible.
It's the most nerve-wracking. Even the dog was like, do something.
Well, no, it's terrible.
It is.
And so you go to the doctor and you just want relief. So unfortunately, colic is not a...
There's no blood test for colic. It's not
like they don't even really know what it is.
No.
So they tell you, and they say, give it a couple months, it'll go away. So after a few months, it doesn't go away. They tried, change the formula. That was the first thing. Get off of dairy, and go to the most expensive formulas they have in the world and try that. So you do that for a while. It doesn't change. Try a different formula. This goes on for literally a few years with my son. And then in that same time frame, he's having all these ear infections. And he's on amoxicillin and all these acillins. I don't even know, because with antibiotics, you become immune to one, they have to switch to another. Can't go into sunlight.
Oh,
do
it's
all these
all, I
things.
know.
It's horrible.
Lots of restrictions.
Then when those aren't working well, they started doing surgical procedures on his ears and inserting tubes.
The tubes.
So he had 2 sets of tubes. Well, anyway, about 4 years old, we couldn't take it anymore. We go to Connecticut Children's Medical Center, and they do an endoscopy. Sorry. And they realize that he has acid reflux. That the muscle, and I forget the name, there's a muscle that doesn't allow the gases to come back up your esophagus and the acids, but allows food to go down. It's not working correctly, and it's allowing the acids to come up into the esophagus where they're not supposed to be. So at the time, there was a new drug, Pepcid. Let's try it.
Which was, is that over the counter now?
It might be. Back then, it was a prescription.
Prescription, right.
Because it was fairly new. So they said, try this, and it will help. So we give him the Pepcid, because we're parents, and we want what's best for our son. And it worked. Like an instant relief. It was amazing. He was eating, and then, because he would cry after he ate all the time, because it was hurting him. He was eating, he would stop crying, he was sleeping, it was wonderful. Go back for a checkup, he says, now take him off the Pepcid and let's see what happens. Take him off, everything comes back, he's crying, wailing. Doctor says he'll probably be on Pepcid for the rest of his life.
And he's what now?
He's 4 years old.
4 years old.
So I said, well, we'll think about that. I went home, we did a bunch of research, Pepcid was new, there was no long-term studies.
And there wasn't really the internet either.
There wasn't, not
to,
really.
Like check stuff, no.
But I did find out that as Pepcid is keeping the acid down, it's keeping the good and bad acids down. There's a lot of good acids
He's
in your
not
body that you
digesting
need.
his food.
Exactly. So I went back to the doctor and I questioned him on all these things. He got so angry with me for questioning him. He's the head of gastroenterology at Connecticut Children's Medical Center. How dare you?
No, I know.
Blah, 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 blah,
you
blah,
don't
blah,
know.
blah, 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 blah.
The minute, and then, you know,
Yes.
if you say to the doctors, well, I read, they look at you
Oh
like,
my gosh, yeah.
oh, you can read? No, you know what I mean?
No, you're right, because he's like, I went to medical
they
school
don't
for
like
6
it.
years.
They
and
don't
blah,
like
blah,
to
blah.
be questioned.
So I don't do well with that kind of confrontation. So I
couldn't
said,
see that.
I made a
could see-
gesture.
I could see that you.
I made a gesture and I left the room.
What, and you did a finger gesture?
No,
Oh.
I would never do that. But it was more like, you know.
Oh, okay.
So I said, and we left. And I had a good friend at the time I graduated high school with, Guy Carbone, who's a chiropractor in town, in Hartford, or he's in Weathersfield now.
That's right.
And he's also into all wellness. A lot of chiropractors are. It's not just.
Yeah, my mother goes
Okay.
to the Carbone Clinic,
Right.
and
So I said, Guy, you got to help me out here. I don't want him to be on Pepcid. Is there something we can do? And so he said, look, if the muscle's not working correctly, chances are the spine was in misalignment from the time he was born.
really,
Because when babies are born, it's a pretty traumatic
it's
experience.
very traumatic.
And some babies, when they're born, don't ever recover fully.
They
from
never
their
get.
spine
They
never
they're-
gets
they
manipulated
right. Right.
So there's
right.
probably a nerve that's pinched that controls that muscle.
Oh.
So we changed his diet just a little, took the dairy out, because dairy aggravates acid reflux very bad. People don't realize how bad dairy is for your system. It's not very good. Your body doesn't accept it very well. So we cut out.
And we're eating it day in, day out,
Yes,
so you
exactly.
never get a chance to kind of clear
Right.
it. Right.
So we eliminated a lot of the dairy, and he did the manipulations, and lo and behold, it went away.
Unbelievable.
And at the same time, the ear infections
Cleared
stopped
out.
happening. We never had another ear infection, and the tubes, we never needed another set of tubes.
Wow.
So I went back to the doctor
To the
for a checkup
gastroenterologist?
because he wanted to see him again. Told him what happened. Of course, absolutely didn't believe it. He just grew out of it.
Oh.
That was his answer. It just so happened he grew out of it at the moment that all this was
Well,
happening.
this is what I like about allopaths. It's like they first of all won't give you a diagnosis.
No.
Right?
No.
And then when it goes away, you like grew out of it, or it's
Yeah,
just
exactly.
So it's like, huh? and it's like $20,000 later, you know,
Oh, yeah.
and a couple hospital visits. But
But that was my first experience realizing that
so
there
that
are
must have
alternatives.
given you like a lot of confidence.
Oh, absolutely. I was never the same in a doctor's office again.
Right. Right.
Because and that's when I realized, boy, I question the mechanic if he tells me my transmission's slipping.
Absolutely.
I question the contractor, the plumber, the electrician, but we don't question our doctors
No.
when they tell us to, here,
And
take this drug,
And
Please don't read the 3 pages of side effects,
right.
and just trust me.
Well, and I think too, first of all, our medical system is based on profit. And it's based on profit from a pharmaceutical point of view
Right.
and a health insurance industry point of view.
Right.
And it's kind of, it never used to really be that bad. But it started, this paradigm, this model developed. So now we have, and now this is not the opinion of Channel 14. This is
No.
the opinion of Lauren Serven,
And
okay,
Rick.
and Rick Garrey. But I think it's very important because, we're hearing now today. I heard on the news that Medicare is, by 2033, go belly up, and I think we have to think about as a country and as people, how we receive medical care, what medical care is, what wellness is. And right now we've got this, we have an insurance industry that tells doctors how they can bill and how much time they can allow per
Right.
patient. So that places a lot of pressure on the physician.
Oh, absolutely.
And because the physician is pressured to now see in order to pay their student loans, because we don't, we don't charge soldiers to become soldiers.
Right.
So I think we need to look at doctors as a national resource, and nurses too. And they should receive some kind of help with their education because they
it's
come
very
out of
expensive.
school with a lot of debt. And then from day one, the way they practice medicine is determined by this debt. I mean, it's dollars and cents. So
And you put in the malpractice insurance and all the other things. that a
exactly.
doctor-
Then, so now, because the doctors are somewhat pressed for time because of how the insurance market sort of determines how they have to practice, they rely on pharmaceuticals companies for their solutions.
Right.
So, and that's not the only reason why either.
No.
But I mean, so it's kind of, we've got this triad of trouble, I like to call it.
Well-
We've got the pharmaceutical industry, we've got doctors who aren't supported in their education and come out of school a lot of debt, and we have a health insurance industry, and it's not creating an environment of wellness. It's just creating, actually, most hospitalizations are from people because of complications from
From
their
the medicines, absolutely.
prescriptions. So,
Well, but I want to add one more.
and we don't promote healthy lifestyles. So we're not even staying well. We're just getting sick and then having poor solutions to those illnesses, which make us sicker.
Right. And add to that triad, we'll make it a quad,
Okay.
when they allowed pharmaceutical companies to directly market to consumers.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Because
so
now,
now you're sitting at home watching this couple run through a field of daisies.
Or
2 minutes
sitting in a
ago.
field.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they had allergies 2 minutes ago, and now they're running through a field of daisies because they took this. Or the guy throwing the football through the tire, or Bob Dole and Elizabeth Dole coming out and promoting Viagra. And it's like.
and now we're even being told that, hey, look, you could get the new knee, get the new hip.
Right.
Artificial. So, the whole,
But
we don't have to wear ourselves out and break
Right.
and get fixed. I mean, we can maintain our health.
But this is a fairly new thing, because when I used to go to the doctor when I was little, so we're talking 40 years ago, relatively. I mean,
Well,
it's a long
that's-
time, but relatively not that long ago.
No, I wish for me it was
Right.
40, but
But so you're a little kid, you go to the doctor and you have a cold. The doctor at that time didn't do a bunch of things. He would tell you bed rest, a lot of fluids, maybe some St. Joseph Children's
common sense
aspirin.
things,
If you
right.
couldn't sleep, a menthol rub, all these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there wasn't prescriptions involved. There wasn't all these things. And that was it.
well, and right, because now a friend of mine just recently had a sinus infection, and he's like,
boy.
"Oh, I got this sinus infection, and I've got some, I forget what stuff he had in his house, some leftover antibiotic. And I was like, you can't take that. And I guess his brother is like a physician's assistant or something. So I said, you really shouldn't take that.
Right.
I said, yeah. So he calls his brother anyway, because, he's not going to listen to me. And the brother's like, oh, no, the new guideline is to not give prescription drugs, not to give antibiotics for sinus infections. So I was like, yay. Finally.
Yeah.
But see, here's the thing. And I see things changing because nobody can afford to practice medicine the way they've been doing it. And I think people are becoming, a little more like you.
Yeah.
Questioning.
We're questioning our own health care.
And 52 million Americans do not have health insurance, which means they self-care before they go to the doctor. Or it'll be like they really have to feel like something's really,
and
really wrong.
And they end up in the emergency room where...
Well, not always. I think some of those 52 million Americans might be some of the healthier Americans because they're safeguarding their hope. They're being responsible. They're adopting healthier lifestyles, and they're not kind of getting into that medical merry-go-round of, for instance, my health story. I had digestive problems, and it was gallbladder. It was like, oh, you got your gallbladder removed. And I was like, no. Why? Yeah. So I did some research, and they said, certain kind of diet, fatty foods. And it's amazing just how fatty foods are. You don't really know until your gallbladder starts telling you. But no, it's intense. But and then I read that you can really kind of flush yourself out by adopting a 75% raw foods diet and drink as much unfiltered apple juice as you can. So I did. I got a juicer. I started drinking unfiltered apple juice. But I lost some weight.
Yeah. And you felt better.
I felt better. No, my gallbladder, no problems.
Well, you think about it. It's doctors are great, and I don't want to say we're putting doctors down all the time. They're amazing. They fix people.
I feel sorry for doctors.
Right. But if you get into an accident, if you have, reconstruct, all these things that doctors can do, heart surgeries are amazing.
It is.
But it's not the doctor's fault, but we do not have a medical system that talks about prevention of disease, only about curing it later.
We are very good at acute care.
Yes.
And for instance, my brother just went into kidney failure. He has 15% of his kidney functioning, and he wasn't paying attention to his health, and it really was a progressive thing. And then one day it was like, hey, guess what? His kidneys just told him, we're not working anymore for you. And I cannot believe, and my brother is on Medicaid.
Right.
I cannot believe the quality of care that he received. And I started to think, Rick, why can't we do this for everyone?
Right.
He got really, really good care. And they saved his life twice. He almost died twice.
Oh, yeah.
They saved his life. But now I see, and now he's in dialysis, and of course he's on a very careful diet. But it's, there needs to be,
Well, think about where he would be if his lifestyle was different.
Well, he wouldn't be.
Right. Well, that's what I look at my father, who's 88, and he had a heart attack when he was 40. He was a chain smoker. Nobody, wasn't eating well. He was a salesman on the road. He's had 2 bypass surgeries, a triple and a quadruple.
This is your father?
My father. He has a pacemaker. He has Parkinson's. He has, but he's still alive. Doctors have, he wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for these doctors. They do some amazing things.
They do.
He had a quadruple bypass, I think, in '92. The first one he had in '78, he was one of the first people in Hartford Hospital ever to have one. He was in the hospital for a week or 2. The second one he had in about '92, he was out of the hospital in like a day or 2.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
The surgical advances.
It is absolutely amazing.
Absolutely.
Right? But if everyone knew how to take care of themselves, maybe we wouldn't be
doing as many surgeries. Exactly. And because those surgeries are expensive. And then that's why part of the reason our healthcare costs are out of control. And, we can talk all night about just cancer.
I have another story. Can I tell you another story?
Yeah,
I have a great
do.
story. This is when I first realized, I've always never been
Well, you have your own personal story.
Well, no, but I have another one for me. I don't think I even told you this one. My son and I would ride dirt bikes a lot. All right. So we were riding dirt bikes one day, and I was probably too old to be doing it, and I shouldn't have been. But anyway, I fell, and I smashed my knee up pretty good, and hobbled home. And of course, stupid me, what do? I go to my chiropractor. it was a different chiropractor at the time. And I went in and I said, my knee, look at it, it's all swollen and it's hurting and I can't do anything. So he sent me for x-rays, he looked at it, he said, you just have fluid behind the knee. And you could do a couple things. You can have it drained, or it will naturally absorb itself back into the body. It's up to you. He goes, but I was also having a real sharp pain in the back of my calf. So he said, I really want...
Before the accident or since?
Since.
Since, yeah.
So he said, I really would like you to go to the doctor, have the doctor look at it, and do an MRI maybe, because we don't want to take a chance with clots or anything like that. So here's a chiropractor referring me to the doctor. So I go to my doctor, and I said, I had this accident, and I have this x-ray, and the chiropractor asked me to come. And so it wasn't a doctor, of course, it was the physician's assistant. And she said, excuse me, who took this x-ray? I said, well, the chiropractor ordered it. Excuse me? You went to your chiropractor? Chiropractors don't know anything about knees. Why would you go to a chiropractor? And she started yelling at me, lecturing me about that. So I kind of said, excuse me, are you going to take care of me or not? I'm going to send a doctor in. So the doctor came in to lecture me about why I shouldn't be going to the chiropractor. So I'm sitting there listening, and I finally said, look.
That really makes you not even want to go to the doctor.
So I said, here's the x-ray. I said, Doc, let's say I didn't go to the chiropractor, and I came in, and you got this exact same x-ray. How would you have treated it? Well, I would have ordered a cortisone shot. I said, well, I wouldn't have taken it, because cortisone really does long-term damage to your body. He said, well, if you're not going to listen to the doctor, then why even come? And it was like it hit me like a light bulb. And I said, wow, that's the smartest thing you said all day. And I grabbed my x-ray and I walked out. I haven't been to the doctor since. It's been like 7 years.
Well, I'm no friend of the doctors either, Rick, because for that very reason. Because you go in and it's like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
They don't touch you. They don't. They're across the room like you've got something wrong, and they're constantly.
Oh, writing something?
So I'm like, but anyway, yeah. So.
Yeah. But anyway, my knee got better with no cortisone.
On its own.
Yeah,
well, and I also think that that's another thing. We live in a society or a culture of medical paranoia.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
how could we not? You turn on the TV and you got cancer, you're gonna have a stroke, you're gonna have heart disease, you're impotent, you got
because all those
menopausal symptoms and all things. So now we got the skin cancer, and you forget where your car keys are. You're starting with Alzheimer's, and it's all this diagnostic stuff. Yeah. And if you want to find something wrong, and a lot of people, I hate to say, because of the medical paranoia,
they're hypochondriacs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And
absolutely, you see it all the time, and it's so that that kind of turned me off. And of course, the last two doctors both wanted me on Lipitor.
Oh, okay.
And I refused both times.
And what did they tell you, Rick, if you didn't take your Lipitor?
What
did they tell? What was the frightening things that were going to happen to you?
You're going to have a heart attack and die. Well, it turns out everyone has a heart attack and dies at the end. But
well,
all right, turns out. So, the only criteria was the cholesterol test.
Okay.
Think about it.
So they didn't test any other metabolic
they really
indicators?
Don't.
No.
And that's what this
They're
article
just
says.
looking at total cholesterol.
And if I had brought my glasses, I could tell you. But basically,
would you like to borrow
No, it's okay. What it says is, cholesterol is one thing in many that makes up a heart makeup, if you will, cholesterol makeup. So cholesterol is a small part. There are solids in your blood. There are particles in your blood. There's all kinds of things. And I don't even think... And they say genetics, and I think they're even getting away from that a little bit. And so both doctors wanted me on Lipitor, but
there's several theories about cholesterol,
right.
What causes it.
Well, first of all, people have to know cholesterol is an absolutely necessary, vital part of your body.
We need cholesterol. First of all, that basic unit is responsible for our whole hormones, everything.
Absolutely.
It's like it's a building block of our endocrine system.
It's an essential part of your body. You need some.
Yep.
So, but both times that I had my cholesterol checked, now I had my cholesterol checked in my 30s, and then again in my early 40s, probably twice when last time I had seen the doctor. It's always been about 200 to 214, in that range. So the second time I went to the doctor, or that first time I went after many years, and he said, you need cholesterol, Lipitor or something. I said, but my cholesterol is the same numbers it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, they changed the criteria.
Oh, yeah. Why? Because the drug companies are selling Lipitor.
Right. So now, many years later, we have a health fair at work. I have my cholesterol checked again. My overall cholesterol is 194. Wow. Still fine. But my good cholesterol went way down to 19. So when the girl saw that, she was like, and she had that look on her face. I'm like, oh shit, am I gonna die? Oh. I said, oh no, am I gonna die? Sorry about that. Is that okay? So I said, so anyway, sorry about that. So I said, and she says, no, but that's very concerning.
Yeah, that ratio's a little
Yes,
high.
you should really have that looked at. I said, okay, of course I did. So I went online and I read about how to do that. So in October of 2011, I got that test. So then there was a list of 10 things to do to change your cholesterol, to raise your good cholesterol. I forget the first 9, but the bottom one was have 2 glasses of wine a day. That's the only one I can seem to remember. All right?
That's because you followed it.
But there is, and I'm not promoting drinking wine, but there is some health benefits to red wine, the tannins and things in there. But anyway.
Yes, it is.
But anyway,
it's very
main
good
things,
to build the
yes,
capillaries.
Yes.
Yep.
But the main things were eliminate processed flour products from your diet. It reduces your good cholesterol.
And why? Did they say why that is?
It just somehow the processed flours, the white flours, the wheat flours, actually somehow attack or diminish the good cholesterol.
Well, you know, I do know. I've been reading a lot about iodine recently because a friend of mine was struggling with a health issue that is iodine related. And, you know, when the processed flour is what they call brominated.
Yes.
Which is a kind of a fumigant because, you know, we don't want varmints
Yes.
and insects in our flour because the way we have to harvest the flour, and we've got like mountains of flour that could last for thousands
Long
of
time,
years.
yeah.
So they brominate it, and what happens is that bromine replaces iodine in your body.
Oh, see?
And just like fluoride does
Yes.
with our fluoridated toothpaste. So that halide group is very, we're being bombarded with halides in the form of fluoride and bromide,
Okay.
and it's replacing iodine in our body, which we need for functioning of our thyroid. And so these are the, you know, our kind of our endocrine system that regulates,
Right.
you know, a lot of different things. So I'm wondering if that might
have something to do with it.
something to do with it.
So it said eliminate that. And then add in, and meat, obviously, reduce your meat intake. So I reduced the amount of meat I eat probably to 20% or less of my diet.
Now, when you say meat, Rick, are you talking just red meat or
Anything. All meat.
Flesh,
All meat.
chicken,
fish, beef, everything. So I made it less than 20% of my diet. I ate an avocado a day.
Yeah, you were telling me that.
I've
I've been trying to eat more
I'm
avocados. Since you told me that, I was like, I was like
yes.
peeling. I'm thinking,
Oh, I eat guacamole. I put
Rick
them on my
would be so
salad. I put
happy.
them on my everything. I love them. I had one today, as a matter of fact, with my lunch. And then olive oil, which is something I eat a lot of anyway because I'm Italian.
You're Italian?
Yes, I'm half Italian, so we have olive oil on everything. But you got to be careful. If you overcook it, then it changes the metabolic.
Yeah, you shouldn't be cooking with olive oil.
If you do, it has to be a low heat
becomes
sauteing.
inflammatory, right?
And,
Yeah.
But anyway, we can get into that. So all these things. And in 3 months, my overall cholesterol went down to 163, so almost a 30-point
Wow.
drop.
And you're good?
My good cholesterol went up to 32. Now that's in 3 months.
In 3 months.
In 3 months.
With no drugs.
No drugs.
Which means you didn't have to get your liver enzymes
No,
checked.
exactly.
And you know, what is Lipitor a month now? Do you know?
Oh God, see, they will never tell you what drugs cost. So what
Well,
happens
because
is,
everybody's got the drug coverage.
Right. So
So,
you have
who
drug
cares,
coverage,
right?
so
You're
you
paying all that money
Right.
for your health insurance, so,
So
you
you
might as
pay
well
your
you might
copay.
as well get those
Right.
prescriptions.
so you pay your copay.
Right.
Cost me $20. That's all I know. It could be
Right.
$1,000 a month. You don't know.
You don't know.
You have no clue.
Right.
But it's very
So
expensive.
we're all I think that, you know, people are locked into you know, well, let me just tell my personal story.
You tell a story and I'll shut up for a
and no. And for people that know me, they know my story. But, you know, my husband and I are self-employed, and we were priced out of the individual market for health insurance. So, you know, we had to decide, are we going to, you know, save to buy a house and put our kids through college, or were we going to spend $1,000 a month for health insurance that we aren't probably going to use because we don't get sick. So, and our kids don't get sick, and the reason why they don't is because we had, you know, healthy diet and lifestyle choices, and that kind of thing has always been a passion of mine. And when you don't have health insurance, believe me, you make sure you
stay as healthy as you can. Absolutely.
Exactly. You watch what you eat, and you educate yourself about things. So you know, it's just over the years, you are forced to look at things, and then
Right.
you observe, like, you know, the people that do have coverage.
A lot of help, yep.
They're constantly going to the doctors, and they don't seem to explore other avenues.
Well-
And you know, so here's the thing. You know, I'm 55 years old, and I have a lot of energy, and I think I'm, you know, moderately healthy. So I'm just wondering, like, had we had coverage all those years,
Would you
if
have
I
been
would,
more inclined to?
yeah, or where would I be? I
Yes.
don't think I would be as healthy. I think I might have just kind of
fall
succumbed
into
to
the-
a lot of it, and so it is and people, you know, people are like afraid to not listen
Well,
to
there
their
is
doctors.
Of course there's a fear, because it's ingrained in our heads constantly that these things are going to make you better, and if you don't take these things, you're going to be sick.
You're going to get sick.
Because now they're almost making prescription drugs a preventative rather than a cure. They're almost telling you to take this stuff preventatively,
Yes.
which is
Before
really
you
scary.
get the high
which
cholesterol.
is really scary.
Right.
Because the side effects of the drugs are largely unknown, and when they are known, they're bad.
And once again, and some people might take offense to this, but you're encouraging people to take something they don't need.
Right.
To me, first of all, there's nothing more sacrosanct than that doctor-patient or
Right.
healer-patient, whoever you go
Yes.
to, relationship.
Right.
And we have allowed corporate entities to enter into that relationship to the detriment of patient and doctor. And I think the only thing that's going to change it is if patients, people, say they enough's enough,
It
and
has to
start
come from that, yes.
start questioning their doctors a little bit, and sort of telling their doctors, my son, like your son, had ear infection stuff as a baby, and we addressed it through diet.
Okay.
And then he grew up, he had some respiratory allergies. And I remember, because when the kids were little, we went to the doctor all the time because,
Sure.
first of all,
Everyone
you have
does.
to do it every
Yes.
year so they can go to school and all that.
Yeah.
But and you just get those checkups.
Sure.
The childhood checkups. And he said, do you have any concerns? And I said, well, he sneezes a lot, and he had little dark circles under his eyes sometimes. And so the doctor said to me, he probably has allergies. So I said, well, yeah. So I said, well, what can I do? And I'm thinking in my head, the doctor's going to tell me, well, maybe cut out certain foods or certain things you can do in the home
Right.
to eliminate. So he goes, he comes back and he tosses
Some free samples?
some free samples.
Don't you love the free samples?
Oh, no, but Rick, I was horrified. I kind of lost it on the doctor. And I said, first of all, I said that wasn't the kind of solution I was looking for. And secondly, would you give these drugs to your children? I mean, these are free samples that some pharmaceutical
company dropped off,
salesperson
exactly. Yeah.
dropped off to you, and you're telling. So I kind of left in a little bit of in a huff.
In a bad mood, yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? To his credit, he called me and apologized.
Okay.
But I think that's just, he thought he was doing me a favor by giving me these
Right,
free
exactly.
samples. And I think that's like, how did that happen? How did the doctors get so...
When they started advertising. Because, now remember when they wouldn't allow cigarette advertising on billboards anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a time when you couldn't advertise alcohol on billboards. They went through these phases. I don't know if you can now. I forget.
Yeah, well, they used to even advertise, well, I'm older than you, but they used to advertise hard licker.
Right. Well, you
on
have the Seagram's
television.
girl.
Yeah.
And all that.
On
You-
TV.
Right. You can't anymore.
And cigarettes.
Right. Because it was they felt that it was marketing toward underage and kids and promoting these things.
Mm-hmm.
But then they were allowing the drug companies to do it.
Right.
And to me, it's the same thing.
Well, when I was in college, I worked in a pharmacy, which I think is really hysterical
funny.
now because I have nothing to do with prescription drugs.
Oh.
But anyway, the only place that the drug companies could advertise was in the medical journals.
Right.
Or the pharmaceutical journals, and it was a big deal. I remember when that whole legislation came through and they were allowed to do that, and actually people in the medical community were upset about it too, because they just
at the time
they knew that, because now we're going to have patients coming to us demanding drugs that maybe they don't understand the mechanism, but yet they're going to want these things, and
well, they're going to say, I saw on TV that this drug will cure this.
Right.
And you need to give it to me.
Well, nothing is really cured, and I think that kind of goes to and maybe I would love to have you back on the show, Rick, because this really, to me, it only took us an hour to get to the main topic, I think, but the whole crux is that the way medicine is practiced today, everything is managed.
Right.
We're going to manage your cholesterol, we're going to manage your cancer, we're going to manage everything, and nothing is really addressed as that we're going to try to determine why, in the first place.
Right. What is the issue?
You have this condition.
Right.
So, and and I hate to say it once again, dollars and cents, you don't make as much money fixing a problem as you do managing it.
Right. Well, it was who's does the Daily Show? Jon
Stewart.
Jon Stewart. He said, the medical community wants us just sick enough to need them, but not well enough to not need them. Right?
Exactly.
And that's exactly where we are. They need us just sick enough to need the medication, but not well enough to not need them.
To not need
so
them.
they need to keep us right in the middle.
Absolutely. And, and that's because we have for-profit medicine. And, just a couple years ago, we had this whole debate with the Affordable Care Act and all the hysteria about socialized medicine and, go move to Canada and you're going to have to wait to get your surgery. And really, I think these were all sort of knee-jerk emotional reactions to another way of trying to create a sustainable system of health care for the people of this country. And, health care, our doctors and nurses and hospitals are a resource. They're not why are we viewing them as a for-profit entity? And they need to be sustained and nurtured, and they're not. And the fact that they're not is driving the cost of medicine up for everyone. We have over 52 million Americans uninsured. We're going to have more Americans uninsured. Something has to change. Something has to change.
But I think from a personal perspective, as individuals, I always want to say, I need to have action. Is it getting time?
You have 10 minutes.
Okay. So what can I do as an individual to help them? Right? Because I'm big on
personal responsibility.
Right. There's an overall system that needs to be changed, but first we have to start with ourselves. So what can I do to help change it? Well, first thing I can do, in my opinion, is because I believe most diseases and problems that are occurring now are environmental.
Yes.
Whether it's food intake, smoking, drinking, pollution, all these things.
Our air and water, or now they want to frack, and who knows what the heck is.
So I know that I can change my diet. That's the one thing I know I can change quickly. And I know, and I don't think there's a person out there that doesn't know that a fast food hamburger is bad for you. So let's just, it's bad.
It's like come out from under your rock
and find out. A Twinkie is bad for you. Doritos are bad for you.
Even if they're baked. They're not good.
Right. So you have to. So these are basic things. I'm volunteering right now,
Where are you volunteering?
Well, a wrestling program is called Beat the Streets in Hartford. It's to help kids off the street. So twice a week we go into Hartford and I help coach these 3rd and 4th graders. And
they're young kids.
Yes. Yeah. So I try. I always try and interact with
That's
kids.
That's very nice.
I enjoy it. It's. I always say volunteering is a selfish act.
Well, you know what? That is very.
Because I enjoy it.
That's very Eastern philosophy. Yeah. When you do something for someone else, you really it's helping your life.
And I truly enjoy it.
Yep.
So I was talking to this one young boy, and we were talking, and I talk about crazy things. So.
No.
Can you believe that? We had this big discussion. They're reading Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So I had about 10 of these kids around me. We were having the greatest discussion of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I got yelled at.
As long as it's dark chocolate.
I got yelled at by the head coach for, we're supposed to be teacher wrestling. But anyway, so we got talking, and I asked him, "Son, what'd you have for breakfast?" and I wanted to just see what they had for breakfast.
What was some of the answers?
6 corn dogs.
Oh, God.
That was his breakfast.
6?
6 corn dogs.
I was thinking like,
Yeah.
Kicks or sugar, some kind
Well, a
of
couple
sugary
kids said
cereal.
the cereal. Some kids said I had eggs, whatever.
Oh.
There's one kid said corn dogs. Like, how is he supposed to function during the day? But anyway, so we can change what we eat. And it's...
Well, but Rick, some people can't because to eat well costs a lot of money.
Well, you know what, though? I thought about that. And it really, it can, like, all right, so you can't go organic. That's fine. I don't even go organic because I can't afford
Sometimes
that.
fresh produce is,
Right.
expensive.
Even sweet potatoes are fairly inexpensive, right? They're one of the best foods you can eat are sweet potatoes. They're fantastic for you. Beans are very cheap.
Yeah, well,
Beans are good for you. A lot of greens are inexpensive. Your kales and things, sometimes you can get them fairly cheap. But there's a lot of things you can do. But even just eliminating things that like just quickly, I printed a couple things. The smokehouse burger at Chili's is 2,000 calories, and 145 of those calories are fat.
Wait a minute. So there's a smokehouse
burger at Chili's.
Oh, that's that thing
That's
that looks like
and
the outer
it's
space crate.
5,200 milligrams of sodium in the hamburger. No French fries, no nothing.
And which is really, that's like a week's worth of sodium.
So eliminate.
I always wondered
things
why
like
my
this.
ankle swelled after I had that smokehouse burger.
I don't think you've probably ever had that smokehouse burger.
No,
I've
been known to eat a couple of those onion blossoms.
Soda. Don't drink soda.
Well, soda.
It's one of the worst things you can put into your body
Soda
is soda.
is so bad.
And for women, they're saying now women, because of they're prone
Unbelievable.
to osteoporosis and things.
It sucks the calcium out of your bones. The phosphorus
Oh my gosh,
replaces
it's
the
terrible.
calcium.
So there's things we can do, basic thing. Don't drink soda. Margarine. If something doesn't go bad, don't eat it. That's a simple
First of all,
rule.
margarine actually, if you want high cholesterol, eat margarine. Right.
Well, take margarine, put it out. I always say, it's funny, I read an article once, they say, take a tub of margarine and put it in your garage. And go look at it 6 months later. There'll be no flies, no mold, no nothing. Because it's not food.
No, it's like, it's
right.
fake.
So what they're saying is, if it doesn't go bad, don't eat it.
It's bad.
Right.
If it doesn't go
When
bad,
you go
it's
shopping, only shop on the outside edges of the grocery store, not in the middle.
absolutely. I know. That middle.
Right.
And I never knew that a lawn chair was a food group. Did
You're
you?
not eating it, are you?
No.
Oh my God.
But I mean, that whole, it's like, wow, they sell all this stuff.
But there are some
Food store.
corn dogs. If you have to have a corn dog once a year at the carnival, that's okay.
No.
If you have to have
Well,
it.
here's the other thing. This is the other thing. Okay. Now, I work with this woman, and, she's my age, so, that's old. And
No, that's not old anymore.
she's getting, some aches and pains. So I said, well, what's your diet? And she eats a lot of complex carbohydrates. So I said, that could be contributing to some of your inflammation,
Right.
and maybe you should just cut back. What am I supposed to eat? I'm Italian. I have to have pasta every night. So I was like, Lorraine, you're telling me that you're racked with pain, but you're not going to take
Not
a
going to change your
chance
diet, yeah.
to.
I know.
So I think that we're so. For people, the
Look,
food,
I'm Italian.
the food. No, but I mean, but
It's
Rick,
tough
it's like
to
it's
cut out pasta.
Well, it is, but people are like, okay, here's your choice: feel better or
Yes.
keep
Or
eating
keep
the
eating
stuff.
this junk.
And people just can't seem to let go of
But here's
eating the stuff.
Here's the other thing, too, though. This Sunday, I went to my mother's house. We had a big pasta dinner like we always do on Sunday. We had pasta, meatball, sausage. It was great. Had salad. But
I
that was
never
it.
put the pasta and bread.
But that was it. I didn't have any bread. I don't eat bread hardly anymore. And no
I had a
dessert.
I had a
didn't have the
sandwich
dessert.
today.
Yeah. I had salad. I had my Stop and Shop. We go to the salad bar, my artichoke or my avocado. It was great. But during the week now, I pretty much eat brown rice. I eat vegetables. I eat
Well, I have to tell you,
salads, all
I
that,
have to tell you, I hadn't seen you in a while.
Yep.
And I mean, you see on TV, and who looks good on television?
TV,
Like,
TV
nobody.
adds 10 pounds, absolutely.
Nobody
You
looks
should
good.
see me in a real
No,
body. Huh?
but I'd seen you, and then I didn't, and it was since this time
okay,
with your
change.
thing, and I was like struck, like, wow, he really looks good. I mean, you lost weight.
Absolutely.
Your coloring looks so good. I mean, so
and
let's give a pan in on
No,
Rick.
no, don't pan it, but
no,
listen,
Rick,
here's
you
the
look
thing.
totally. What my point is, Rick.
But I wasn't-
You changed your diet, and you look better.
Well, the other thing, too, is I'm a fairly active person. I do not sit around much. It's not in me to sit around.
Right.
And that's another thing. A sedentary lifestyle is terrible.
Well, that, but,
Right?
but,
And that adds to
but
it.
you know why? But you know why people are sedentary, Rick? Is because they're eating crap and they have no energy.
No energy.
So
Yep.
if you, now listen, we're running out of time.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Would you come back on our show? Because,
absolutely.
And I think that I would love to cover some topics and get more specific because there are.
Oh, there's some movies I can have people watch too that are really good.
And
Oh,
there's so much out there on the natural health front
Yeah.
that has to do with diet particularly, which I
Absolutely.
think is a passion of yours, and just how I really do think people are being sold a bill of goods.
Yes.
And we would like to maybe, it'd be great for you to come back and be our guest because really it's kind of a way to spread information.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to be
And then we'll do a cooking.
chiropractor.
And we'll do
or
a
you don't-
cooking show.
Well, I don't cook, but if you, I'd be more
I'll
than
bring my
glad to assist.
avocado chocolate pudding.
Oh, well, you know what? I just bought a Vitamixer the other day at
Oh,
Whole
boy.
Foods, and it's perfect for somebody like me because it's like, here's the carrot, here's the this, here's the,
That's
and it's just, and
some stuff comes
you
out.
can make
That's it.
soup. It's great.
Oh, all right,
It's
excellent.
great. So it's a good way to get your thing. But Rick, I enjoyed having you on
It was
the
awesome.
show.
I love being on.
it was
This
great.
is, I got to tell you, I've been involved in Weather Show Television for 10 years. It's the first time I've been on a show
Oh.
where I wasn't a host. This is actually the first time.
Wow. Well, I feel like you
I
sort
like
of.
it.
I kind of feel like
All right,
you.
he's yelling at you.
I feel like you took over though, Rick. But that's okay. All right. Once again,
Oh, I'm about to swear again.
There you are. So our guest tonight, Rick Garrey, a friend of Weathersfield, Channel 14 Television. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.